Hello.
Sean.
Hey.
This is Joel.
Joel Q. Olson.
We had a call, and it was, you're supposed to guess who this person is, and here's the quote from the phone call. He says, so like, yo, I got the guys out on the van on the side of the road, and we got everyone lined up, and like Sean jumped up on the top of the bus, and like, well, it was actually a van, on a van, and he like just dropped his drawers, ass hanging out, and then his balls. Who said that?
I have no idea. I really don't. I don't remember that picture, Joel, I got to tell you.
That's the perfect answer anyways, because, like, it was John Smatlack.
You know what?
The Tanks
I got to tell you, I almost said Tanks, but I couldn't believe you got a hold of him.
So I'll go like this, and I'm here with an excellent friend and bandmate, Sean McAllister, bass player of some really cool early Chicago bands. Sean, let the listeners out there, a lot of people know you as a Trouble bass player on the first two records, and also the transition into Run to the Light. We played a lot of those songs. You played probably every one of them.
Right.
What other bands, because I know what they are, would like to talk about your earlier days, that how we met you and how you replace Tim Ian Brown?
Well, my recollection is that I was in a band called Witch Slayer. And before that, I was in a band called Love Hunter, which was mostly a cover band. I did not have any input on the name. Yeah, I was probably 19 years old. Anyway, after I played with Love Hunter, I met some guys from the neighborhood: Craig McMahon, Jeff Allen, Dale Clark, and went to start jamming with them and Witch Slayer, and they were all original and they were really tight. Kind of a Maiden Sabbath influence, which was the Chicago taste back in those days.
Yeah.
And we did a show with a band called Diamond Rex at a VFW in Des Plaines. And we did two shows, an all-age show and then a 21 and over show. And Bruce and I think Eric went. I know for sure Bruce was there. And we did the show. And it was probably about maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, I went to Haymakers. I don't know if you remember Haymakers.
Oh, yeah.
And I forgot who. I think we were seeing Thrust with somebody. It might have been Twisted Sister. I'm not sure.
I was at Twisted.
Yeah. Oh well, you know that probably could have been the show.
What about Mountain? Didn't we see Mountain at Haymakers?
Probably. I mean, I was there all the time. I lived 15 minutes away, so you know. And me and all my friends always hung out up there. But I remember at that show, I went up to talk to Eric. We were just sitting there chatting, and he opens up the Illinois Entertainer and points to an ad in the back that says "Trouble's looking for a bass player," and he looked at me, and it was kind of like, wow, you know. And it's all culminates from the time that I saw you guys at the Nail, and you opened with Bastard with Pay, and the stage. You remember the stage was like 4 inches off the ground, and I was like standing right there, and the fog's pouring out, and Eric's singing, "You fucking yes," and I was just, my jaw hit the ground, and I was just like, wow, you know, these guys are the shit. So when he actually looked at me and gave me the opportunity to try out, I was very stoked.
That's cool. Cool, Sean. Cool story. We know there's a lot more to than that, but I get a kick out of you saying that. It kind of describes how Eric was to you, where the lead singer just kind of pointing, not saying much. He didn't say much.
He didn't say a word. He just opened the book. He opened up the Illinois Entertainer to the back where they had, you know, where everybody advertised for who they wanted, and he pointed to the ad and he looked at me.
That's just great. Witch Slayer, really cool. Do you get do you get to talk to? I know Facebook opens up a lot of things. Do you get to talk to anyone from Witch Slayer and have any memories or ideas that way? Like Jeff Allen, I know was getting active there. He's out in somewhere, Florida or something.
Yeah, no, I talked to Jeff, or at least we Facebook a lot, and I talked to Jeff quite a bit. Probably, I wouldn't say quite a bit. You know, probably every couple of months or so we chat on the phone. But mostly it's like you said, Facebook. Dale Clark's on there too. Craig McMahon is pretty much nowhere to be found. He's really involved with his movie making. He makes horror movies. I guess you'd call them B-list horror movies. I guess they sell well overseas. He's even been an actor in an Australian series.
Wow.
So he's involved with a lot of that stuff. We were actually contemplating getting, re-recording the original demo that got a lot of buzz before I joined Trouble, and actually adding some songs to it. Got kind of serious for a while. We were buying, M Audio and Pro Tools, and everybody was trying to, get their shit together so we could start trading stuff back and forth, and then it just kind of fizzled.
Sure.
Which is kind of unfortunate, but, we all live in different states, and, it's hard to, and plus that mojo isn't there when you're 18, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah. Sometimes the fizzle is just because it takes longer when, like you said, maybe mojo and life's busy schedules. It's taking me forever to get my new things going, but I'm doing them. I think you guys should still maybe maintain that. Other than that, Witch Slayer things that are from the past, are there any demos and bootlegs or anything and tape trading? This is what a lot of people don't understand, that we come from, 79, 80, 82, all the way into 83, 84. Those were tape trading days. Are there any Witch Slayer, Warcry, E-Trope? Do you have any connection with those kinds of Chicago bands with tape trading?
Well, no, I remember, you're right, back in the day, I remember the first time I heard Metallica was a tape.
That little tape.
Yeah, that's somebody, and everybody was tape trading. Wade Brooks, it was the king of it.
Yeah.
That
and Brian Slagle.
yeah.
Those guys were the top, and then there's a bunch of other people, I guess, too. Yeah. Is any of that, though, YouTubed? I haven't, I'm asking that as a person that's sort of knows the answer, but trying to get people on the blog to go, let's find this stuff, and let's...
Well, the Witch Slayer stuff you can hear. I'm pretty sure that it's out there and it's on YouTube. There's no video.
Sure.
We didn't film stuff back then. I don't think there's any Warcry stuff, but you can hear pretty much all the music. They had a demo too, and then Paul Speckman, I think, is trying to do something with those guys again. I'm not too sure. I know he's, revived Abomination, and of course he's got Master, and then he also had Funeral Bitch too. He had a million bands. And he's, doing that sort of thing from the Czech Republic, which is an interesting story. If you ever get to interview that guy, boy, I tell you what. But, as far as that goes, YouTube's a wonderful thing as far as finding old metal, especially the stuff back in the 80s, which if you see any videos from back then, you can't even believe how cheesy they are. But, we thought they were great.
That's right. Sean, that's excellent. This is a great reason that I call you, I've called Bruce, I've called Eric, Rick, I've called Ron on talking about Armando, a little more focused on that one. It's great to be able to chat, with just, not just a bandmate, but a colleague that's been in the scene, where a lot of the, the people say kind of weird things to me, or the words like legends and things like that. I'm not into that concept, but they weren't able to be a part of the underground because they weren't born yet, and now they're into so much music and love to know these stories. And here's a person other than yourself, Sean McAllister, bass player in Witch Slayer and Trouble, and in the band before.
Love Hunter, come on!
Love Hunter. Sorry, dude. I know I'm a bad host. Love Hunter. I remember the pictures of that, actually, when you let us borrow the folder, which was awesome, dude. Letting us borrow that was just crazy. That it was just some stuff that I forgot how much of a geek I really was when I looked at that.
You were amazing. You were like the best band member.
Here's the memo.
If it wasn't for you, everybody used to say, "Hey, memo from Joel."
I got a memo.
You'd hand him up.
Okay, I'm the only guy in Doom Rock that ever handed out memos. Okay, I'm going to be known as the memo, the grandfather of Doom memos.
Remember the one? Make sure you got valid ID in case we get busted.
Because I was so paranoid.
Everybody was holding.
And we're gonna get into that too. There's so many funny stories. That memo that cracks me up is, here we go to make a recording that Metal Blade takes. Well, they took the live and said, we want you on Metal Massacre. They didn't say what specific one, and then we wound up on Metal Massacre 4. And then I wrote the memo. And I've got, like, people, what time they're supposed to get up. And it's just, I was almost embarrassed just, like, reading what I had done. I can't believe that. And Sean, though, like, you, going through these moments with you in time, when I think back, I couldn't have enjoyed this phone call more than, you know. Every time I call one of the guys from Trouble about the past, it's just been great. Everyone has a different way of doing it, too. Like, Bruce is more serious about the music we listen to riding around, and a lot of people won't get our inside jokes. But do you remember our nicknames? And this is like, some of this stuff is not, you know, the most important things. But it's fun for fans that are just joining the Trouble bandwagon, or that already know, that might have never heard these rare stories. Do you remember those odd nicknames? I know.
I remember some. I know. Bruce was Bar.
Yeah, Bruce Bartholomew Franklin. I
don't remember Rick ever having one, because he was always such a business guy. I don't remember him having one.
He was Shoney Richardson.
Oh, that's Shoney Richardson. That's right.
Now, why was he Shoney Richardson?
I don't know. That was developed before I got there. I just sat there and laughed.
And then Eric, do you remember his?
No, I don't, because there's certain numbers that almost transcended. Like, I don't know how to say this. He almost transcended nicknames. Like, Eric is a great guy. He was a ton of fun. One of the funniest guys I ever met in my life. I mean, That's probably one of the reasons why we all got along so well, is because even Bruce and all his seriousness was funny as hell.
Very funny.
All we did was laugh all the time.
Yeah.
Especially in the van on the way out there the first time. But I remember being called Link McNeil.
Yes. Link McNeil, dude, that's my number for you on both my Skype and my. It says Link. It doesn't say Sean. So Eric's was Eric Dawson.
Why?
I don't know. Both Shoney. Now, there's got to be a reason, and we'll have to ask those guys, about why that was. And then mine, I got a Russian one. Do you remember mine?
I just remember everybody called you Oli, and when I first started, I guess they've always called you Oli. When I first started with the band, none of my friends could figure out why they all figured that you drank a lot of Olympia beer.
We kind of did in the day. Those shorties, those little 7-ounces.
Yeah. And they were cheap. But I kind of mentioned to him, you think maybe he's Swedish? Yeah. or Norwegian or something. You give him the Ole Olsen thing. But,
Well, it was our nicknames. In that category that I'm talking with the Link McNeil, you had another one. Do you remember what your other one is?
Dick.
Asshole? I knew you were going to do this kind of stuff.
I'm sure that was it at the
you're on here for. No, I think Wade Brooks called you Spider Fingers.
Spider Fingers, that's right. Yeah, I still don't live that one down. I have a friend of mine, Mike Pasquale. He calls me up and goes, "Hey, Spidey." To this day.
To this day. That's great, man. Hey, this just in. It sounds like a news flash. Terry Anderson of Judgmental from San Antonio, Texas. What are your feelings on the state of originality in metal, hard rock these days, Sean?
It's kind of, and I'm not being biased, I just think it's kind of bleak. I think, there's some bands that I like. It's hard to explain. I hear, it's around the time, when metal was metal, and then it got into grunge, and then all of a sudden, like, Korn came out, and they did kind of like that kind of heavy rap metal thing, and now it's all been hybrid. I think everybody's trying to pick and choose a little bit of everything, but I don't see anything truly original coming out.
Sure.
I mean, you can even almost, you could say that about bands that, when we came out, we were picking and choosing. Metallica took, from Motorhead and the Misfits and that sort of thing. And we obviously grabbed from Sabbath and other 70s rock bands and 60s rock bands and took like the tastiest pieces and the grooves that we liked and, fabricated them into a Trouble sound. But I don't see anything, nothing's grabbing me. I got to tell you. I did hear one band, No Time for Pain. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're a local band out of Chicago. That I actually think that their CD sounds pretty good.
Cool.
A lot of tight songs, fast songs, heavy songs, good singer. Something worth checking out.
Excellent, Sean. Great answer for Terry Anderson of Judgmental, San Antonio, Texas. I want to tell you this story that was. It's not really that big of a story or funny or anything. You know what I used to like about you was we really loved the John Sykes Thin Lizzy album. Remember how beautiful that album was? I mean, It was just like did we play it like in the van like maybe like 5 times in a row? It was that good.
Oh yeah.
The sun goes down.
Yeah.
Doo-doo. But oh my God, are there any other metal groups that influenced you during your time playing in Trouble that were that intense? Like, say some of the groups to the fans of Trouble out there and the fans of this blog. And what's weird is, dude, a lot of the people that are friends, they're not just fans. I almost hate that word. They're like friends of the group. We like you. We like Woody Weatherman from COC. We're friends. We're not fans with each other. Well, we're kind of friends, but I mean fans. I'm a total fan, I guess. But
that's like us with E-Trope. Trouble and E-Trope. We were friends.
Totally.
We were also fans. But I mean, I used to go to every E-Trope show. I mean, and it was funny because we'd all be standing around, drinking beer, and all of a sudden, hold on, I got to go on. And then we'd go on, and we'd be like down front row and headbang our asses off, get in the mosh pit, and then come back out and then stand around, and like it was no big deal.
Go to the party afterwards. I mean,
yeah,
that was some of the most fun shows. Was E-Trope. Just with Kenny and Calvin, and just, oh my God, Barry, and just, God, it was just insane.
Well, to answer your question, you were asking me who influenced me, or who was I into?
Might not be influenced necessarily. It's that because that question's kind of a weird question because we're influenced by too many things. It would be like, what are some favorite albums or bands that were just during the time? And it's the opposite of the question that this Terry Anderson of Judgmental just said. It'd be, what albums, what kind of things were your favorites during the time? I kind of know what you're going to say, maybe, but listeners out there might not know.
I was in, obviously, Judas Priest.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big one. Well, and I'll tell you, the culmination of me even finding heavy metal was I was a huge Rush fan.
Yeah.
And then I became a Judas Priest fan, and I still liked Rush, but I love the heaviness of it. And I thought, boy, if you could hybrid these two bands, and then Iron Maiden came out. And, dude, my jaw hits the freaking ground, you know what I mean, once again, or prior to hitting it the second time when I saw Eric saying, you fucking bastards. But, that was it. I mean, Maiden, and then it was Maiden and Priest. I mean, just because I like the intricacy. Harris was such an amazing bass player, and still is.
Yeah.
And, when Geddy Lee and Steve Harris are your bass teachers, you learn by osmosis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Falling asleep with the album on.
Oh, my mom, talk to her. You want an interview? Talk to her about 3 a.m. He's sitting there with my little click amp on, you know, and I didn't have headphones, so the tunes were low, but I was still trying to play. You know what I mean? Because I was trying to practice and whatever.
Awesome. That's just great.
Yeah, you ever watch Big Bang Theory and this guy has a mother screaming in the background?
Yeah.
That was my mother in the other room.
Oh man, that's great shit right there, Sean. You know, Rush really, it's crazy. What my favorite Rush tunes? I don't know what happened. I had a cousin that was moving. This is really funny. Moving from like Chicago to Seattle, like really far, but had to go out there first. And they said, "Can you take care of my stereo?" Dude,
no.
Serwin, oh no, Serwin Vega's like Pioneer, like SX, like 1080 thing, you know, like 300 watts, 150 per side. Serwin Vega subs, and then mids, like it was bi-amped, and then the turntable. And I went out and bought that first Rush album. And I needle dropped that, you know, and I had only owned like Craig cheap, you know, cardboard, speaker cabinets, you know, the plyboard things before that, and
I had Lloyd's. My stereo was a Lloyd's.
Ah, you had a Lloyd's. That's like the Craigs. They're like the rivals to Craig.
Yeah, mine was Sears. Yours probably J.C. Penney.
Right. Awesome. But man, what an album that was. Isn't that Working Man? Oh my goodness, that's metal, you know, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it started to get a little weird, you know, to me, but then, I don't know, I liked Hemispheres for some reason.
That's one of my favorite albums, Hemispheres. The Trees,
I don't
Circumstances. I mean, I was in a band in high school called Taurus.
Wow.
And we were really young, and we got caught in a bad direction. Well, not in a bad direction, but we ended up playing a lot of Rush. Where when we played like at school, like we got an opportunity to play at the lunch hours. So there was 3 lunch hours in school, and we got to play all 3 lunch hours. And it was, you know, a lot of people came, but a lot of people left because we were doing all these obscure Rush songs that everybody's listening to REO Speedwagon and Journey.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, they heard, you know, 2112, the overture, and that sort of thing. But, you know, we were playing the Trees and we're
the Trees.
Yeah, I know.
That's so funny. A little bit of prog, which is funny. I mean, a lot of people, you wonder if out there, you know, definitely Bruce was not prog at the time. He's a very hard rocker, very great rock and roll guy. And, of course, Rick, total rock and roller guy, you know, majorly.
Spooky Tooth.
Yeah, Spooky Tooth.
He was the Spooky Tooth. I remember him being into Spooky Tooth, or at least mentioning them to me.
Yeah.
Which made me go out and check them out. But, you know, I was like, wow, you know, that was the city, man. Everybody had their areas where they grew up, and everybody in those areas had different bands that they liked.
Sure.
You know?
And that goes to the next thing. What was the favorite record store that we would all like love in Chicago near the Metro?
Stone.
Yeah.
Stone.
Yeah.
Dude,
Stone.
You could get all the imports, the EPs, all the weird bands you read about in Krang.
Yeah.
That's where you got your Krang. I mean, if you were rich and got a Krang subscription, that's fine. But otherwise, you went down every month and got the new issue, and then and looked through all the European imports, the EPs, and looked at posters. And I mean, that's where you could get all your European new wave of heavy metal band posters.
Yeah,
you know,
it's the best thing. You know, I think something needs to happen. I think record stores need to come back like that again. We're lucky in Maine. We have Bull Moose Records, where it's an actual store, but it does sell CDs, you know, mostly. But it does sell the merch. Then we have another one out here called Newberry Comics, and I'm sure there's other franchises, you know, like that. But you can actually go there and almost feel a little bit about that, but you know, you think someone would come up with trying to bring back these great moments. Remember how Borders, you'd go to Borders Books, even that died. You could go there and get a coffee and like read some, you know, bathroom book that you would never have bought.
Right.
You could do that at these record stores. You could go and say, it's almost like that movie High Fidelity.
Right.
Yeah. Incredible. Sean, what basses? What basses did you play in the day, and then or bass? If it was only one, because money, we were young. But and what do you have now? I remember that was a fun thing when we had just reunited at the Days of the Doom Festival 2 years ago. What basses and what's your amp rig and equipment like?
Well, back then, and I played Fender. I played Precisions. I had two of them, a 75 and a 78. I still have the 75.
Oh.
My rig back in the day was it was a back-loaded Serwin Vega 18 and two front-loaded EV 15 scoops. Like, this is PA gear.
How did you power that?
With a Serwin Vega 450 head with an EQ on it. And I also used Ron Holzner because he was my tech at the time. I used his Ampeg. So I would go out of the Serwin Vega that powered the two front-loaded scoops, and then I would slave it to the back-loaded 18. Well, you shoot, Sean, that's great, but then guess what? Every time you hear anything live, you never hear me because I'm not coming through the PA because the
subsonic.
Because Sam would sit there and go, "You're too fucking loud, man." It's like,
we should have run a DI. I mean, that's Sam. And Sam was a bass player. Now,
I know.
Should you or me explain who Sam is? Why don't you do it? This is your interview. Who's Sam Herron?
Yeah, Sam
He'll
Herron.
Love this. He'll love
guy.
this. He's still in contact on Facebook. He's a very funny guy. Explain Sam the Sprawling King Snake.
He was our sound guy. I remember the first time we went out there, and we went into the studio, and then after we got out of the studio, we were doing a tour with Slayer and Bitch up the West Coast, and he flew out for that. If I'm right, was that the first time or the second time?
First time he flew out, I think. And the second time he rode, he rode back with us or something. That's when he became the Sprawling King Snake.
Yeah. Well, and then the last time when we did the East Coast, he came with us too. And that's a whole other story, that East Coast story. Boy, he made an impression on my father. You remember when we went to my father's house on Father's Day? We were at your parents' house up in Massachusetts before that, and then we came down and we went to my father's house on Father's Day. And there's 10 of us, and my dad's a lieutenant colonel in the Army at the time. And there's 10 guys with hair. Well, you had hair down to your ass. But
I had a beard down to my ass, too, at that time on that tour.
I heard nothing about it forever. I mean, my father talked about that forever. It was probably the culmination of his life was watching his son and his hippie friends show up. He's probably trying to hide the fact that he was in the military. I don't know, or hide us. But Sam pulled out some kind of a thing my brother had, a kung fu stick or something, and then proceeded to put it through the drywall in the ceiling, and in front of my father, which went over really well. As well as him, and I think it was him. I'm pretty sure it was him and Jay. And,
Jay Zerby, oh God, the shot put bowler.
I don't think Tanks was out there, but those guys are out in the van smoking weed, and my dad's walking back and forth. But thankfully, they didn't have the windows open. But I just remember following my father.
Oh.
What?
What happened with Tanks? Why he wasn't at that? He went on to Uli Roth at that time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's because I remember him and Eric and my dad talking about it. My dad saying, you got to let it go, whatever, like that. But yeah, he bailed right before that. You're right.
Yeah. That was huge. Sean, that's a thing I totally forgot, but now I remember some of those kind of rough, odd moments that either one of those guys probably didn't want to happen. They did not want nunchucks being... they did not want to... Well, what he did was he dropped his drumsticks. He's playing with nunchucks, right? They slipped out of his hand and went into your dad's drywall.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Because my brother was into Taekwondo at the time, and he was only 7 years old or 8 years old, 10 years old, something like that. And Sam was in his room and whatever, and came out with his stuff, and they were doing something in the living room, and all of a sudden he put it through the drywall. If you knew my father, I mean, anybody knows my father, which nobody does, but he looks at me like, the fuck is this? Because there was 10 of us sitting on the floor in the living room watching TV because there's no place for us to go. You know, I mean...
Which is awesome, which is going to lead into this. 10 of us in a living room watching TV because there's no place to go. Remember this time. This is one of the times that is so incredible. We played live at Ruthies, and I got into a fight or something with Tanks dude, my roadie, John Smatlack, one of the best guys ever. And, you know, thinking that I could actually fight, which, of course, I can't.
You're a lover, man.
I'm a lover, not a fighter. And so I get in this fight with Tanks because we're all in that. Remember where the van broke down? It was on the Skull Tour because it's the second one. And we just didn't have cash. And something happened with me. I was just fucking tired of Tanks. And we went outside and actually started fighting and stuff, you know. And I thought I might be doing okay, you know. And then I got my ass beat so bad. Tanks just was kind to me. You know, he didn't kill me. Like, I guess in the 17th century I would have been killed, you know, like drawn and quartered or whatever. And we're both the same size and everything too. Like, well, you know, and it's just funny. It's just we have different backgrounds, and I'm, you know, like, you know, me, I was, my experience is like, wow, that's a nice chord pattern in church this weekend. You know, I really like the harmony when we sang that in choir. You know, Tanks is like, fucking give me the money or fucking move. Get out of the fucking place or give me the money. You know, and I'm like, and I'm mad at him, you know, we get this fight. So I get a black eye. Now, we play at Ruthies, the same vicinity of that black eye, and we do a pretty good show. But remember, like, Dave Mustaine, and it was that drummer and his girlfriend, they had a Volkswagen. Can you tell us a story about playing live at Ruthies? And it's in the book. The story isn't in the book, but the flyer that you had live at Ruthies.
Well, I'll never forget that show. I'll never forget it. We played first, and once again, we're playing on the stage, and Ruthies, the stage is probably literally 3 inches off the ground, right? So we do our thing, and everything's fine, and then Megadeth sets up, and their stage looks amazing. Marshall Stacks, freaking Ampeg had, you know, Ampeg
we had that.
The drums. Well, no, we had Marshall Stacks. You're right, but you know, I mean, it just looked professional, and the drums were, if you remember, had like razor wire or something around them. I mean, bullets and stuff like that. I mean, it was pretty cool. So, Dave, the band comes out, and Dave comes out onto the stage. Yeah, he comes out on the stage, and you know, he's kind of got a smear on his face, and the fans are standing there, and everybody's cheering and stuff. And he proceeds to hawk back a real big loogie and spit it at somebody. Well, and this is my recollection. It's burned into my head. There's about a 2-second pause, and everybody, like, within 20 feet of that stage, spit right back at him. And the poor guy got it out over him. It was on his guitar. It was on his face. It was on his hair.
Strings.
And he's just sitting there dripping. And there's shit he can do about it. You know, to give him credit, he played, I think, 2 songs before he turned around and wiped off. But it was the funniest fucking thing I ever saw in my life. Because, I mean, the guy was kind of an outcast, you know, and was coming back from the dead. And, you know, it might have been a punk move to do, not punk in a bad way. You know, back up there in San Fran, I mean, punk is huge, you know, and it's, you know, Waddy and exploited.
Just
those guys used to drench their... Yeah, well, they used to drench the crowd in spit, but I don't think anybody spit back at him. But he got spit back at, and
I remember it. Yeah, dude. That's why I'm laughing so hard. There's certain memories you have in your lifetime, and that's one of them.
It was just like when we played at the Keystone. I think it was the second time up there, and Lars and James showed up, and they kept poking their head through the curtain before Slayer went on. We played. And we did our thing, and you know, I remember standing in the back, you know, the back of the house, and Lars had put his head through the curtain. There'd be like clap, 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 clap. I don't know if it was Master of Puppets or if it was still Kill 'Em All, but you know,
probably
they were very
Kill 'Em
popular.
All. It was pretty early, dude.
Yeah. Well, we were backstage and talking with James. You know, he had a leather on and a white scarf, and he had it laced through the epaulets. You know, on the biker jackets, how you had an epaulette on the shoulder.
Yeah.
He had it going around his neck and through the epaulette, and he had a ring on every finger like Lemmy. And I mean, he was looking, he was dressed to kill that night, but he got kicked out.
I know that
he was
story.
through the chicken wire stealing beer.
Yes.
And Bouncer threw him out.
You just verified a story that I talked with on Bruce's interview, and you just said it verbatim.
Yeah.
Without even, this hasn't been prepped. This is not pre-recorded. This is live.
No, I was there, brother. I was talking with the guy who was standing right next to him. He threw the chicken wire and grabbed the warm beer.
Remember that? He grabbed him with one hand. That roadie was so huge. It was like Hulk, or not Hulk. Who's the guy? Andre the Giant. His hand just grabbed him on the back, pulled him out of the chicken wire, and kicked the door open with one hand and threw him out. He was gone.
Yeah.
Where's James? And then Lars was just talking to us in the dressing room. Cool, what's up? That was so funny, man.
I remember James saying that our lights were too dark. He had too much purple.
You think about it, he's right.
Yeah. Couldn't even see us.
Think about it. Do you remember how our lights went? We were dark. Remember how we did that?
Purple and red and blue.
Yeah.
There was hardly any whites at all.
Whites
you can see the
never
LEDs,
happened.
you can see the LEDs on the amps, and
and like some glowing figures.
Yeah,
on
dude
stage.
bumps around in the dark.
That's funny. Well, Sean, let's do this. Let's sum it up and add up some other things. I mean, there's so many stories. I'm having fun. I didn't even prep it. I didn't need to because that's just your personality. I knew would lead this into a really cool memory kind of interview, and that's what I've done with all the Trouble guys. One thing I wanted to do when I talk to anyone from, that I've recorded records with or been with live, and had a great time with in the past, and is to not overdo the notes. Like, what do I need to, blah, 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 I want people to, revisit that memory of the time. I need you, though, to remember after Ruthies, back to the black eye incident, what happened before because the next day we took a press photo for Metal Blade, which is on our black and white. You take a press photo and it shows Metal Blade, the skull, and the both of us, I have a flattened nose and a black eye, and you have a black eye.
Right.
Can you tell us why you have a black eye on that photo?
Well, I don't know where we were coming from, but I got into you're right, a VW Bug with, I think it was Holzner and a girl and me and a secretary at Slagle's office. and we're going down a highway and she's in the left lane, okay? A 2-lane highway, she's in the far left lane. She's about maybe, let's see, not even a quarter mile from the exit. And she says, I think I have to get off here. And she decides to jump 2 lanes and get off. Well, she misses it and hits the guardrail. My face goes right into the windshield.
Jesus.
So I ended up spending most of the night in emergency. And I know Ron was there, so I can't remember if he was in the car or not. I think he was. And then I got a black eye. And the thing was I was going to totally let it go, but it came like even almost a year later. She had trouble with the law because of that. Something about her driving record. I'm getting phone calls like 8 months later saying, you'll let me off the hook. I said, I never put you on the hook. I don't know what you're talking about. And what's your name again?
Wow, that's
a lucky one. I remember we're standing in that park, and the photographer's taking our picture, and I'm doing everything I can to look at the camera without showing my black eye. And if you look at the picture, it looks like I'm trying to be hard-ass, but all it is I'm hurting my neck, trying to keep my black eye out of the shot.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's just peak material. So, Sean, let's play some apples and oranges with you. I do that with all my favorites, and we're going to do this. I'm going to try and do this. Let's go like this. Alice Cooper or AC/DC? You have to choose one. Alice?
Yep. Love AC/DC, but if I'm going to pick, I'll take old Alice.
Oh, awesome. Okay, let's go... Steak or Poultry.
Steak.
Beer or wine?
Neither.
Oh, hard liquor.
Vodka.
Ah, that's your baby. Vodka. Cool.
The elixir of
Rick
the gods,
really,
my friend.
yeah, I think it is, huh? Rick used to like vodka, I think, too. It's like it's just, I think it's more chill for you guys. It's a different buzz, by the way, too.
Well, I used to be a huge rum guy. I drank rum all the time, and it just became too sweet.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
You know, as I get older, I just decided it was too sweet. So vodka it mixes well with anything, and I pretty much now, if I drink it, I drink a little water. So.
Yeah, dry. Keep her dry.
Yeah.
Let's say this. What can I do? Pentagram or the Obsessed?
Pentagram.
E-Trope or War Cry?
Wow. You're making a line in the sand. I'm going to say E-Trope. I'm going to say E-Trope only because Barry was a dear friend. Kenny was a dear friend. Hell, I had Willis. He used to work for Sears in the AC, air conditioning. And he came to my house and changed my mom's thermostat. I mean, we were good friends.
Yeah,
so,
that's...
I mean, I'm good. And Paul I've known since high school, Paul Speckman.
Sure.
And I knew the Fitzgerald brothers, but you know, there was a small rivalry between Warcry and Witchslayer. And in some ways they were similar, in some ways they were very different.
Yeah.
We both came from basically the same parts of town, and there was a small rivalry. So
we all had these little kind of slight prideful rivalries of who we all were in the Chicago metal days, of those days in the early 80s, 79 through, freaking, what would it be, 89 or 90s? Yeah, up to, yeah. I mean, it does have a stronger stretch. Some of them made it. Remember Thrust?
Sure. Those boys. There was a street in my neighborhood called Lawn Lane, and on Lawn Lane it was a party almost every night, and that's where Thrust came from. Was Lawn Lane in Des Plaines, Illinois?
Yeah, they were wild.
CB, the guitar player, John. Jeez, I can't remember his last name.
Oh, John. Because John's important. Drummer, and then he became the singer. With your fist held high. The power in your hands. With the fist held high. Yeah. You can make demands.
Ron Cook. I've known Ron Cook for years. We went to school together. Yeah.
He's another Facebooker, people listening to this blog. These are true people that would love to answer questions about their old school era, old school Chicago metal era. I think this is more focused on,
Right. Well, Thrust was on the fast track, and I don't know what nobody seems to know what happened. I mean, they were it. They opened for Priest.
Yeah, they opened for Priest at the not the Aragon, the amphitheater, wasn't it? The Biggie.
No, it was at Arlington Park Racetrack.
Oh, okay.
And it was almost one of those, what is it, White Lion? What was the band that lit the ceiling tiles on fire? It was almost that. It was like that.
Oh, yeah. Great White.
Great White. And the ceiling was way too low, the stages were way too high, and there was pyro, and the place was freaking jammed. I mean, if there was a fire in there, people would have died. There's no way to get out.
That happened a lot of times in the day. Remember, ours were, 2 coffee cans and a couple roach clips and gunpowder.
Right.
That's basically what those flash pots were, Talk about Thriller. Michael Jackson goes, Thriller, and he gets his face burned. We could have been like all dead.
Well, it seemed like everybody knew when to back up, which was a good thing.
Yes. Do you remember that outdoor party with Thrust's bouncer biker guys? That's a great flashpot photo that people you remember that? We are all
with the American
cringing.
Flag in the back?
Yeah, we're all cringing. And if people didn't know the heat level, like what was on stage at that point, if there would have been a thermometer, what temperature do you think it would have been, Sean?
Well, 120 degrees. It was something to make you back up, that's for sure. It was like opening an oven. Yeah.
All right, Sean, this has been great. Let's do what we always do at the end of every interview. What would you like to say to the entire world out there?
Well, the first thing that comes to the top of my head is that I'm very proud of being a part of Trouble. The guys went on to do really good things. You yourself have, even went away and came back, and the European tours and stuff like that. I mean, that was dreams when I was a kid, and and the fact that there's still a lot of appreciation and love for the band, and especially the old albums. I mean, the reception Eric's getting for doing the Skull stuff. Obviously somebody had to go back out there and play that music, and you understand when artists grow, they don't want to go back into their old catalog. Sometimes they're tired of playing that, but so the fans really like to hear it. It's just like if you see any band that you really love, if they don't play those first couple of real good songs, you kind of get disappointed. It's nice that people still like that old stuff. And like I said, I'm very proud of being a part of this whole organization. And having you as a friend, and Bruce and Eric and Rick, I mean, it's been good for my heart. And it doesn't hurt once in a while when people recognize who you are, or if it's just by name. But I really appreciate it. I'm humbled by the whole thing.